what's the Geboy, what's the build of this Perek Lamed Zayin? We're at a new paragraph on the bottom of Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, okay? The build of this Perek is that we talked before about when you have bittul, you're mamshech the Shechina. This is the discussion we were having. And we had different bittles. The bittul of Teira is mamshech the Shechina into your moyach and your nefesh alakis and the levush. The bittul of mitzvahs is mamshech Shechina to your nefesh abahamis and to your guf. And the Perek Lamed Zayin he adds the bittul of mitzvahs is not only mamshech the Shechina into your guf, your nefesh abahamis, it's mamshech your bittul into the gashmi the kinachos. But then the Rebbe goes back to Teira and says, hey, wait, don't forget about Teira. Even though I said to you before in Perek Lamed Hey that Teira is a bittul only of the mayach, and therefore it's mamshech only the Shechina into the nefesh alakis and the levush. Nefesh alakis, I changed my mind because Teira has akima svasov, Teira has dibur, and the dibur of Teira hakaim alon akima svasov ma'aser. This is yesterday's shir, and because hakaim alon akima svasov ma'aser, says the Rebbe, I say something different. I'm saying that in Teira also, the bittul associated with the dibur of Teira is mamshech the Shechina, not just to your nefesh alakis and to your mayach, but also to your nefesh abahamis and to your guf. And the Alter Rebbe now continues, now I'm going to say a third thing. In other words, just like in mitzvahs, the bittul is nimshech to the nefesh alakis, number one. The bittul is nimshech nefesh abahamis into the guf, number two. The bittul is nimshech to the oilam, as he said in the first half of yesterday's shir. So now he's revisiting Teira and saying all same things about Teira. Number one, like I said in Perek Lamed Hey, Yom Mamshech Shechina to nefesh alakis. Number two, Yom Mamshech to guf nefesh abahamis. Zeiz ve'ed acheres. And there's a third Inyan also in Teira as well, and that is that shekeach nefesh achayunis hamaslabeshes be'eisies hadibur b'talmud Teira tefillah. The power of the animal soul, which is invested in the words that you speak when you learn them, when you daven, ukiyetze bem, and so forth, as well as oy mitzvahs ma'aser, do behavioral mitzvahs. Harei means emphasis, yeah? Doch. Kol giduli v'chayusei, the entire growth and the entire vitality, the entire life, is mehadam. It's in the blood. What's blood? Shumiklikas nega mamish. Blood comes from klipas nega mamish. Now, how does blood come from klipas nega mamish? It's very pushit. Shein koleichel no mashkin. It's all the food and drink. She'achol v'shasa, that you ate and you drank. V'nasu dam, that because you ate them and you metabolized them, you properly digested them, we hope, they became blood. That before you ate them, sheho you tachas mimshal to, they were underneath the dominion of the nefesh of klipas nega. V'yanku chayusam mimen no, and they got chayism klipas nega v'ata now because you're learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. He misapechas miral teiv is changed over from evil into good. V'nechlalas b'gedusha becomes holy. Aidekeach nefesh achayunis, through the intermediate of the power of the nefesh abahamis, which gives life. Hagodol mimenu, the nefesh abahamis is living from the food that you ate. That is now shenislabish be'esiyes elu, that's manifesting in these letters, or even more basiyazu, in this act of doing mitzvahs. So the Rebbe says, just like in mitzvahs, you affect your nefesh alakis, you affect the nefesh abahamis in your guf, you affect the chalki ba'elam, the same is true in Teira. There's one chilik. What's the one chilik? One chilik is that in Teira, the effect that you have on the world is only the world that you take into yourself. The food that you eat, right? The food that you eat nourishes you. So you're taka bringing Shechina, not just to your guf, but to chalki ba'elam, but only chalki ba'elam that has been ingested into your guf. As opposed to when you're doing a mitzvah with chafetzim gashmim, with physical things that are outside of you. You follow what I'm saying? But it seems to me that this is the Alter Rebbe's intent. The Alter Rebbe wants to show that even through Teira you have the same three bittles. That Teira and mitzvahs, asher hein, that Teira and mitzvahs are pnimiyas retzeinei yizbarech, of the inner will of the Eibishter, b'li shum hester upon him, without any concealment of the divine face whatsoever, and therefore v'chayusan, the vitality of Yiddishkeit, is automatically and constantly nichol included gamkin as well, bein tzei baruch hu, in the light of the Eibishter, shuretzeinei yizbarech, which is the will of Hashem. And then the vitality of the Yiddishkeit is Nichlal Ve'ele, it ascends and it rises up, Gamkin also, Keach Nefesh Achayunis, the power of the animal soul of a Yid, and his Guf, and Chalki Ve'ele. Stop. Atkan. this is the end of the first Nakuda of Perek Lamed Zayin. The way I read it. I don't pretend to be an expert at anything, but the way I learn Tanya, this is the end of the first Nakuda of Tanya Perek Lamed Zayin, that he's adding that you're not only mamshach shchina to your nefesh alekis and to your guf nefesh bahamis, you mamshach to the gashmis around yourself and through Teda, through the food you eat. Now goes another Nakuda. And the other Nakuda is called Gama Sa'el Nosam Belibam. The whole world is in Klal Yisrael. The 60 million Jews, let's say for argument's sake, the world is divided into 60 million pieces. Each Yid has a chelik. And when each Yid does his avodah, he affects his nefesh alekis, he affects his nefesh bahamis in his guf, he affects his gashmis dik and achosim, and he affects his chelik in the world. So the Rebbe now says, when Yidden get their act together, they change the whole planet. In other words, they're bittling the whole planet to the Eibishter, and they're mamshach the Shechina to the whole world. And this is the next issue. In other words, it's a fourth point. It's not just my neshama, my guf, my chafetzim, it's the ganze Welt. Says the Rebbe, and as a result of all of this, Tala Gamkein, we can uplift and also close Klipas Nega. Klipas Nega as a whole. Shehi, which is close Achayas Shalamazeh Agashmi Vachum, that Klipas Nega as a whole is the vitality and the life of this world, Bechlal. That kasher, when and if kol anesham, if all Yidden, v'nefesh alekis shabakol Yisrael, and the divine soul which is in the collective Jew, hamizchalekes, which is divided with protis in detail, l'shishim riba in 600,000 parts. Now notice the language. When he says shabakol Yisrael, what does he mean with the word shabakol Yisrael? Literally, kol Yisrael means all Jews, right? But over here, the words kol Yisrael means as Jews are a kal, as Jews are one. The point where Yidden are one, they encompass the whole, they're in essence, they encompass the whole world. And when Yidden has a oneness, do bittul in Teda and in mitzvahs and in birudim of Gashmiim, they bring in Aliyah and they bring down Shechina to Klal Selam Hazeh. This idea of Klal, you should know, appears in Tanya a few times. I say the place where it's most pronounced is in Tanya Perek Mem Aleph. With Alter Rebbe says, L'shem Yichad, B'shem Kol Yisrael. I have no business saying L'shem Yichad, I'm no Mekubal. But B'shem Kol Yisrael, Klaus Yisrael, the Shachas to everything. We had it also earlier, B'negei to Avim Suteres, Tanya Perek Ches. Every time he talks about Pintel Yid, he doesn't say your Pintel Yid and your Pintel Yid. He says, Avim Suteres, Shebetava Klaus Yisrael. The idea of a Pintel Yid is part of us, not as we are individuals, part of Klal. It's a very Yisaydizik in Tanya. The power of Yidden as a collective. And you should know, Chassidim translate this. Hanasi hu HaKoil. It's the connection between Chassidim and the Rebbe. Whenever it comes to Yechid things, when it comes to Atzmiyazdik things, we say we get the Koyach from the Rebbe. Because the Rebbe is the Koil. This word, Shebekol Yisrael, could be the Nasi. Hanasi hu HaKoil. Shebekol Yisrael. Right? Kasher kol aneshama v'nefesh alekis shebekol Yisrael. When every neshama nefesh alekis of Yidden as they are in a madrega of kol Yisrael, right? And if you were a fanatic, you would say hanasi hu hakel. That later on take hamizchalek, as it subdivides bepratis in detail shishim riba, the 600,000 Jews. And in Kabbalah it says each one of the 600,000 Jews has 600,000 sparks, right? That's how many neshamas there are. And each one of us does our piece as parts of the cloud, as opposed to individuals. Tekayim kol nefesh pratis, each individual neshama will do. Kol tayag mitzvah Teda, all the 613 mitzvah Teda. And he starts off with the negative. Number one, Shasa Leita said the 365 negative commandments. Lahafrit Shasa Gidim, to separate the 365 nerves and veins and sinews and arteries. Shel dam nefesh achayun shebaguf, of the blood of the animal soul which is in the body. Shel yinku v'yikablu chayis, they should nourish and receive life. By doing an Aveda, by doing one of the severe in Yadim, the three severe klipas. And I guess in a unique way, when you eat treif, it becomes you, but it's true of all Avedas. Shemehen nishpais, which is the flow of life. To Shasa Leita said that I said that Van Feim, the 365 negative commandments and the biblical Avedas and their branches, Shemeh derabbanan with derabbanan. And as a result, v'shuv so no more. Therefore, leituchal nefesh hachayunis. If the Yid would do Avedis, it would be impossible for the animal soul, la'al sal Hashem, to rise up to the Eibishter. Because im nitma betumas ashol eskibet atmeis, if a Yid's neshama and nefesh habahamis becomes tummy with shol eskibet atmeis lagamri through Avedis, so then she'ein lam aliyah li'elam, has no aliyah. Ki im bittul vavar lagami, has to be destroyed and removed. like we had in Tanya Perek Zayin, as the pasuk says, Hashem is going to remove it from the land. So if you do an Avedi, you become Shalosh with Meis Gamri, you can't go up anymore unless you do Tshuva Me'ahava. So don't do any Avedis. So you have no Shayches, the Shalosh with Meis Gamri. So you're free to rise, and then of course, then you do the mitzvahs with Bittul. And as a result, your Bittul is Lahamshech Ein Tzei Baruch Olamata. It brings down the Shechina, which is called Ein Sof down here. Lahala is light to go up to the Eibishter or Lakasher, and to tie or Yached and to unified by into the Ein Sof, Klolus, HaNefesh HaChiyunus, the general Nefesh HaChiyunus, Shabbaramach Evri Aguf, for the 248 limbs of the body, B'Yichud Gomer, in a perfect union, L'Yais L'Chad Mamish, to be one Mamish. K'meisha Allah B'Tzeini Yizbarach, which fulfills the will of Hashem. What is the will of Hashem? Shaliyais Lei. And of course the Rebbe adds, Yizbarach, Direh B'Tachtenim, Hashem wants a home in the lowest realm. A home in the lowest realm means to bring on it Ein Sof, to be Masha the Shechina through the Bittul, and when Yid have no Avedis, and Yidden use Gashmi as dika things, to do the 248 Gashmi as dika mitzvahs, they're bringing the Shechina down, not just to their Neshama, and their mind, not just to their Guf and Nefesh HaBahamis, not just to their Gashmi as dika Chafetzim and to their food, but to their piece of the world. And when we do it collectively, we lift up the whole world. And then a Yid, and ultimately the whole world becomes a chai for the Eibush like the Avos themselves. Stop. We're in the middle of something. This point that we're currently learning is going to continue until page 96, Ubazeh, where he speaks about tzedakah, which is, so to speak, the home stretch of this sugya. We're going to be speaking more. I see this as a fourth dimension. The first dimension is your neshama and your mayach. Second dimension is your guf and nefesh habahamis. Third dimension is your gashmis. The fourth dimension, you can't do this by yourself. Your personal possessions, your home, you have a chalke ba'elam maybe in China, you don't know where it is, b'chalal. Your gashmis means what you know you want. The fourth dimension is to lift up the whole gashmistic world. When Yidden get together, each Yid does his piece, doesn't do Avedis, and does the Bittul, so he lifts up his chalke ba'elam wherever it may be. There's going to be one more point mentioned tomorrow. In the middle of the scheme of chalke ba'elam, and that is that if we do this, Shalosh Klipas Meis Lagamri dies. Because Shalosh Klipas Meis Lagamri needs Klipas Nega. And if we lift up Klipas Nega, we cut off its lifeline. And this becomes like a fifth insight into this whole scheme. I'm trying to present to you these three prakim, so you should see the development of the idea. First the bittul of the neshama and the mayach, then the guf nefesh habahamis, then your gashmias, then chalke be'elam, and it kills Shalosh Klipas Meis Lagamri. And this will do a mitzvah tomorrow.